In the very foundations of Judea. I am Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, serving under your mighty rule. The events I am about to recount concern a man named Jesus of Nazareth. His presence has caused significant unrest among the Jewish people. I trust this letter will convey the gravity of the situation and the decisions that were made. It is vital for the stability of our region and the honor of Rome. The following account will detail my observations and the actions taken during this critical period. Please accept my humble submission and permit me to elaborate on the occurrences that have transpired. The importance of this letter cannot be overstated, as it involves the well-being of our province and the respect for Roman law and order. The implications of this man's life and death may have lasting effects. Thus, it is my duty to provide a thorough and honest account of the events. Jerusalem has always been a city of profound religious significance and occasional unrest. The population is diverse, with fervent religious beliefs often leading to clashes. As the Roman prefect, maintaining order and peace has been my primary concern. Recently, rumors began to circulate about a prophet performing miracles. The people spoke of his wisdom and teachings. This prophet, Jesus of Nazareth, soon garnered a following. His influence grew, causing unease among the Jewish authorities. The tension in the city became palpable. Some saw Jesus as a threat to the established order. Others hailed him as a Messiah destined to liberate them from Roman rule. My duty was to investigate and ensure that his actions did not incite rebellion. The rumors and reports were conflicting, making it challenging to discern the truth. I needed to meet this man and gauge the situation for myself. Upon hearing more about Jesus, I was intrigued yet cautious. His reputation as a healer and teacher spread quickly. However, my concern was his potential to incite insurrection. The last thing we needed was a revolt during Passover. I ordered my soldiers to bring Jesus to me. The Jewish leaders accused him of many things. They claimed he was misleading the people and blaspheming against God. My initial impression was that he might be a troublemaker. When Jesus stood before me, I questioned him about the accusations. His demeanor was calm, and his answers were measured. There was no sign of malice or intent to incite rebellion. Yet, the pressure from the Jewish authorities persisted. I needed to understand more about his teachings and the nature of his following. This man was different from any zealot or rebel I had encountered before. As I continued to question Jesus, I began to see him in a different light. He spoke of love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of God. His words were not those of a revolutionary, but of a peaceful teacher. The accusations against him seemed unfounded. Jesus' followers were ordinary people. They did not appear to be soldiers or zealots. They revered him for his message of hope and compassion. My suspicion began to wane, replaced by a curiosity about his true nature. I found no fault in him. He did not advocate violence or rebellion against Rome. Instead, he preached a message that could bring harmony. Yet the Jewish leaders were relentless in their demands for his execution. Despite my growing respect for Jesus, the political and social pressures were immense. I had to tread carefully to avoid causing a larger conflict. Section 5. Jesus' statement on taxes to Caesar. One of the most significant moments in my questioning of Jesus was his statement about paying taxes to Caesar. The Jewish leaders had tried to trap him with a question about loyalty to Rome. They asked him if it was lawful to pay taxes to the emperor. Jesus' response was both wise and profound. He asked for a denarius and inquired about the image on the coin. When they replied that it was Caesar's image, he said, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." This statement struck me deeply. It showed his understanding of the delicate balance between spiritual and temporal authority. He did not oppose Roman rule, but acknowledged its place, while emphasizing a higher moral duty. His answer diffused the tension and demonstrated his wisdom. It was clear that Jesus was not a threat to Roman governance. Yet the hostility from the Jewish leaders only grew stronger. Section 6. Hostility from religious authorities. The more I learned about Jesus, the more I was convinced of his innocence. However, the religious authorities were determined to see him punished. Their hostility stemmed from fear of losing their influence and control over the people. They accused him of blasphemy and claimed he was a false prophet. They insisted that he was dangerous and had to be stopped. Their demands for his execution became louder and more insistent. I found myself in a difficult position. Upholding justice meant releasing Jesus, but doing so could lead to a riot. The leaders were adamant, and the crowd was growing restless. The situation was becoming increasingly volatile. The pressure to comply with their demands was immense. I had to consider the potential consequences of my decision for the stability of Jerusalem and the authority of Rome. Section 7. Pilate's personal encounter with Jesus. One of the most profound moments for me was my personal encounter with Jesus. I called him into my private chambers, away from the shouting crowds and hostile leaders. I needed to understand him better, man to man. Jesus stood before me with a serene presence. His calmness was striking, even in the face of impending death. I asked him about his kingdom, and he responded that it was not of this world. His words were filled with a sense of otherworldly peace. Despite the accusations and the threats, Jesus remained composed. His eyes held a depth of compassion and understanding that I had never seen before. It was clear that he was no ordinary man. This encounter left a lasting impression on me. Jesus' serenity and wisdom were undeniable. It made my decision even more difficult, knowing that an innocent man might suffer because of political pressures. Section 8. The crucial moment of trying to save Jesus. As the trial progressed, I realized that Jesus' fate was becoming increasingly dire. The crowd, influenced by the religious leaders, was demanding his crucifixion. I knew in my heart that he was innocent and tried to find a way to save him. I offered to release a prisoner as a gesture of goodwill, hoping they would choose Jesus. Instead, they chose Barabbas, a known criminal. My attempt to sway the crowd failed, and their cries for Jesus' death grew louder. I then had Jesus flogged, thinking that a lesser punishment might satisfy the crowd. But their bloodlust was unrelenting. The situation was slipping out of my control, and I was running out of options. In a final attempt, I washed my hands before the crowd, declaring that I was innocent of this man's blood. It was a symbolic act, but it did little to quell the mob's demands. Reluctantly, I conceded to their will. Section 9. Pilate's concession to crucifixion. The decision to crucify Jesus was one of the hardest I have ever made. Despite my belief in his innocence, the pressure from the Jewish authorities and the crowd was overwhelming. I feared a riot and the potential fallout from Rome. Reluctantly, I handed Jesus over to be crucified. The crowd's reaction was a mixture of triumph and relief. It was a tragic end for a man who had preached peace and love. My heart was heavy with the weight of this decision. The execution was swift and brutal. Jesus was led to Golgotha, where he was nailed to a cross. The sky darkened and the earth trembled. It was as if nature itself was mourning his death. The significance of these events was not lost on me. As I watched him suffer, I could not shake the feeling that this was more than just the death of a man. It felt like a momentous event with far-reaching consequences. Section 10. Pilate's reflection on the significance of these events. In the days following Jesus' crucifixion, I've reflected deeply on the events that transpired. The impact of his life and death continues to resonate. His followers remained devoted, and his teachings spread despite his execution. I've come to believe that Jesus was more than just a man. His wisdom, compassion, and serenity in the face of death were extraordinary. He left an indelible mark on all who encountered him, including myself. The consequences of his death are still unfolding. There are rumors of his resurrection which have only fueled his followers' devotion. The stability of Judea remains uncertain, and the tension between the Jewish authorities and his followers persists. As prefect, I must navigate these challenges with care. The significance of these events for Rome and Judea is profound, and their impact will be felt for years to come. Section 11. Conclusion. The impact on Rome and Judea. The crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth has left a lasting legacy. His teachings continue to inspire and challenge the people of Judea and beyond. The political and social ramifications of his death are still being felt. For Rome, maintaining order in Judea remains a priority. The events surrounding Jesus' life and death have highlighted the complexities of governing a region with deep religious convictions. It is a delicate balance that requires wisdom and understanding. As I conclude this letter, I hope it conveys the gravity of the situation. Jesus was a man of remarkable character and profound influence. His death, though intended to quell unrest, may have sown the seeds of a movement that cannot be easily contained. The future of Judea and the stability of